So I would like to put my 2 cents in on this debate about the canon of Scripture that's going around the interweb of YouTube. Dr. Ortlund put out a video about the canon of Scripture and tried to utilize the Eastern Orthodox tradition to his advantage to prove that the early church in the East advocated for a shorter canon, particularly of 22 books of the Old Testament, based off the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, I'm not saying that what he presented of the sources he presented, that it was false. No, that is the case for the Council of Laodicea, for the letter of St. Athanasius, for Gregory of Nyssa and Gregory the Theologian, and of Amphilochius. But whether purposely or not, I don't know, but Dr. Ortlund left out 2 very important sources from the 4th century for the Eastern Orthodox tradition because these sources are established as authoritative for the entire church in the Eastern Orthodox tradition. And, well, what would those sources be? Well, we actually have to talk about the Council of Trullo, which is also called the Quinisext Council, which was a council called after the 6th Ecumenical Council to establish canons for the 5th and 6th Ecumenical Council. That's why it's called the Quinisext, the 5th and 6th Council. And the 2nd canon of the Quinisext Council lists a lot of councils. It lists all the ecumenical councils, and then quite a few local councils, and then a number of holy fathers. And it establishes all of these canons as authoritative for the entire church. And among those canons, there's about 6 that have to do with the Canon of Scripture, rather listing the books of the Canon of Scripture. And those 6 are the Council of Carthage in 397, the Council of Laodicea, which Dr. Ortlund did talk about quite a bit, somewhere around 363, traditionally thought. The Apostolic Canons, also at least a 4th century text, if not earlier. It's referenced by Epiphanius in one of his works, dated generally to 370, sometime in the 370s. The letter of Athanasius that Dr. Ortlund talked about, and then the Canon of St. Gregory the Theologian, and the Epistle of St. Amphilochius. Now, the Laodicea, Athanasius, Gregory the Theologian, and Amphilochius more or less all agree in their list of books, and they all agree with what Dr. Ortlund presented, right? This 22 book, or, the shorter canon. But the Apostolic Canons, which, as I said, are a 4th century text, no later than the 4th century, maybe late 4th century, but no later than that. And the Apostolic Canons at this Quinisext Council are established as authoritative for the entire church, lists the 3 Maccabees books as holy. That's what it says. Let's see. Where does it say there? Let these books all be read and holy for all of you, both clerics and lay people. I'm translating that on the fly from the Russian, I apologize. I do have the Greek here as well, and that's what the Greek says. And then it says, after it lists the standard books of the Old Testament, then it goes to 2 books of Esdras, Esther, or 1 book of Esther, because it lists the book and then how many of them, right? So it says the 4 books of Kings, which would mean 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings in the other, way of counting them or reading the books. And then we have, back to the point, we have the 3 Maccabees. In the Greek, it's Maccabaion Tria, which means Maccabees 3, not the 3rd, but 3, right? The number 3, not 3rd. Okay, hope my point is taken. And then at the end of this list, we also actually have the wisdom of the wise Sirach, or Sirach, that's included, but it is separate. It says in the canon, translating from the Russian, that beyond this, let there be additional instruction. Let your youths study the wisdom of the wise Sirach. Now, it actually doesn't make the separation here that Athanasius does between this kind of double-tiered, authority of Scripture, but it does separate it somewhat. So I don't know, I wouldn't say that that's 100% included in this canon, but it's still not clear that it's not included, right? Okay, now we have the Council of Carthage. I'm trying to keep this quick, and I'm trying to not edit this because we've been moving, and I don't really have my computer stuff set up. I don't even have a computer actually right now. I have my laptop, and my laptop's terrible for editing. But anyway, this is a great time to invite everyone to watch or to subscribe and watch the series of homilies by Saint Innocent of Kherson that we will be publishing again this year for Great Lent. We will hopefully, beginning Sunday, have a homily for almost every single day of Great Lent. Of course, I'm meaning the Orthodox Lent. I don't remember when the Catholics begin their Lent, but starting Sunday up until Pascha, we will have a very edifying and instructive homily of Saint Innocent of Kherson. So please join and be edified. But moving on to the Council of Carthage in 397, so late 4th century, we have included in the canon the Wisdom of Solomon, Judith, and Tobit, or rather Tobit and then Judith. But and in the Council of Carthage, it literally says, there's no question about this being not just a list of good books, but this is considered canonical scripture because it says, let it be decided that in the church, nothing should be read under the name of the divine scripture except for the canonical scriptures, the canonical writings. And then it lists, all the books, and in it goes, let's see, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, blah, 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 blah. 2 books of Chronicles, Job, the Psalter, 4 books of Solomon. Well, wait a sec, I only know 3 books of Solomon. There's Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Songs. What's the 4? Well, the Wisdom of Solomon, right? And then the 12 books of the prophets, so the 12 lesser prophets, and Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Tobit, Judith, Esther, and the 2 books of Esdras. And of course, yeah, Dr. Ortlund did talk about kind of the confusion with the books of Esdras and Nehemiah. Anyway, that is what it is. It's mostly because of the different ways of including those books or dividing those books in the Hebrew versus the Greek kind of traditions. But, anyway, basically what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to say this faster than I did it last time, is that the 4th century tradition is not as clear as Dr. Ortlund is presenting it, and being that the Council of Trullo, the Quinisext Council, established all of these lists, the ones that Dr. Ortlund addressed and the ones he didn't, as authoritative for the church. And so if you put all the lists together, I have this nice spreadsheet that I'd done a couple of years ago, actually, because there was this Catholic polemicist that had kind of accused the Orthodox of not having the ability to establish a canon of Scripture, which I thought was silly. And so here's the Council of Trent, which they all just, they claim, well, that the Council of Trent, because we have the Pope and we can decide what we want. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but here we have the other canons that I've been talking about, right? So we have the Council of Carthage here, we have Laodicea, Apostolic Canons, Athanasius, Gregory of the Theologian, and then Amphilochius. So I think it's blurry, so I'll go back to showing my balding, shiny head rather than the blurry screen spreadsheet. So, point is, we actually do include the Deuterocanonical books in the Eastern Orthodox tradition from the 4th century. And then, as I said, Council of Trullo, it includes all of these, and my interpretation of that, the Council of Trullo is okay, because these people weren't stupid, right? Anyway. People weren't stupid, right? They obviously knew that there were conflicting, lists of canonical books, and I think they were just okay with that. And so if you compile all of the lists together, including all the books that are, if you just make one list out of all of them, you actually get all of the Deuterocanonical books in the canon, which was established at the Council of Jerusalem in the 1600s. Was also that at the Council of Jerusalem, all of the Deuterocanonical books were not finally in the sense, anyway, they were established as canonical. And of course, the Council of Jerusalem wasn't an ecumenical council, but it still is authoritative, or an authority of sorts. And so, but it doesn't really matter because the Council of Jerusalem is only expressing more or less what the Council of Trullo, the 2nd canon of the Council of Trullo, contained in these 6 canons that were included in that list of many canons and councils and fathers, right? So, join us for our Lenten series. 10 minutes!